Welcome to Decluttering 55 Plus with Michelle Passoff. This is the place to come for news you can use to get things done. Everybody knows that too much stuff is clutter, and cleaning it makes you neater and tidier. To us, it is a life management tool that helps you navigate your next steps. This is what my book, Lighten Up, Free Yourself from Clutter, is all about. As baby boomers, we have a lot in front of us that is confounding and confronting, so we sweep things under the carpet and put them off another day or forever. That is clutter because it keeps us stuck, and my new book addresses all of that. So we're going to bring experts, authors, and authorities here to talk with us about health, relationships, technology, finance, housing. What are you going to do next in life? Passing down your life stories, and even the challenges of making final arrangements. Here we aim to learn, open new possibilities, choose, take action, and create a legacy, not a mess. So let's get started. According to the new AARP Home and Community Preference Survey, data shows that 77% of adults over the age of 50 want to remain in their home for the long term. Not even COVID-19 pandemic has changed that. Yet many respondents said they would have to make changes to their home in order to do so. Our guest is Wanda Gozdz, and she knows all there is to know about that. Wanda's long list of credentials is exhausting and would take the entirety of this show to list for you, but suffice it to say that she's not resting on her laurels. She's the founder and president of Golden Age Living, an acclaimed residential interior designer and author of the book Sensible Smart Tips for Living in Your Forever Home. She's a certified aging in place master instructor for the National Association of Home Builders. And if you can catch your breath, just know that this grandma is an avid runner, having finished first in the 65 to 69 age group for more than one marathon. Thank you so much, Wanda, for taking the time to be with us today to talk about what it takes to age in place.
You're welcome. I'm excited to share that information with our aging population and friends.
How did you even get into being an aging in place specialist? What exactly does it mean to age in place?
So I got to be so I am a law librarian by profession. I'm sitting in a law firm where I take care of their information technology for the past 43 years.
Oh.
But my mom, two things happened. One, my mom got cancer, and she's lived in the same house since my dad bought it in 1954. And I have four brothers and two sisters. And my sister said, Mom, and my mom was by herself because all of us had evacuated and left. And my mom got cancer. And my sister said, Mom, you can come and live with me. My sister lived like 2 towns away from her. And my mother said, the only way you're taking me out of my house is feet first. And I said, oh, we're in trouble. We're really in a lot of trouble. But why did my mom not want to leave was the question. Because she had lived in that house for her whole entire life. Across the street was her favorite church that we went to, as she goes to every single day. Her friends, lady friends and gentlemen friends that go to church every single morning. This was her socialization. She went to church every single day. She prayed every single day. She knew her neighbors. She could walk to the grocery store. Yeah. She knew the milkman when the milkman delivered milk and the mailman. So she was connected to her community. Yeah. That gave her value and that she felt connected to. If she moved to my sister at that time is 4 years younger than I, but she didn't marry till she was she didn't have children till she was in her 40s. So her children were in elementary school, like fourth and fifth grade, and her husband is older, so he had retired. So he was Mr. Mom. So if my mom went there, church was maybe 2 miles away. My mother didn't know the neighbor. There was no one to communicate, and she sat home all day long. So, and she wasn't a person that would go out, say, to walk to the neighborhood or thing. She was more secure with the people that she knew in the environment that she was around. So when she did, make a story short, we wound up hiring a caregiver to care for my mom. that lived with my mom. And my mother's Polish, so we brought a Polish caregiver in for her. And until the last 2 months of my mom's life, she lived in her own house, and us 7 children would go there and help. Whether, in the summertime, I would go and plant a garden for her. My brothers would mow the grass, and so we were connected, that way. And that's really the big. I do have another dear friend. I worked in the Playboy Club with her when I was in my early 20s.
Oh my goodness.
But I was a good girl. I was a waitress in the Playboy Club. And she moved to Miami, and she lived in she worked for the courthouse for 80, till she was 80. When she retired at 80, she had been there for more than 30 years. Same thing. She had a connection to all her friends, to her church, to her community, and her socialization. Well, her daughter took her and she retired. We had a retirement party. The daughter put her on a plane and took her to her house in Tennessee. Well, guess what? In Tennessee,
she knew nobody.
She no soul. She did have grandchildren, which she could. She gained like 40 pounds because she was frustrated. She didn't have communication and she didn't have socialization. And she, finally said, I'm going to get on a bus and I'm going to go back to Miami. So, but the reason we do have that disconnect is because we miss that interaction, whether it's our family, whether it's our friends with the grandchildren, we really need that. So people want to remain in place, to age in place. So aging in place isn't about getting old. It's about the ability to remain in your home as your lifestyle changes over time. So again, my mom lived in that house, since I'm 5 years old. So again, time changes. So as our lifestyle changes, we really need to look at our house to see if our home accommodates those changing needs. For example, my mom then had to walk up to the bedroom to the second floor to go there. Well, she could no longer go up the stairs. So then we had to move the bedroom down to the downstairs floor so that she could be accommodated, take out. So our ability to remain in our home depends on the adaptability of how we can make those modifications in that home so that we can live there safely, comfortably, and securely.
Well, as you're speaking, I'm thinking in my mind, you've already enlightened me this morning, because in my mind, I was thinking, well, aging in place disconnects you from your community, but you're saying exactly the opposite. If you're familiar with your surroundings and the people and the activities that you love and enjoy, and you're still going to do it and not shut the curtains and retreat, aging in place can be a way to stay connected, which is entirely critical as you age. It's almost as important as what you eat and exercise to really having vitality as you age. So aging in place can be not only cost savings, but it can be a way, like you're saying, to remain connected to those you know and love and the things you do. So, however, as you age, you have different needs on how to maneuver inside of your home. So can you say something about what needs to change and be modified in your home and when?
And well, it's always good to be proactive. So for example, I'm downsized from a house. We can downsize. I lived in the same thing. I downsized from a house to a condominium because I didn't want to have to take care of the maintenance of the place I live. So I was reducing, looking down the road and going, where are you going to be 10 years from now? That's what I always said. Where are you going to be 10 years from now? How are you planning to get there? So one of the ways is to say, okay, I had a house. I enjoyed it for, 35 years. But you know what? I want to take that responsibility burden off me.
So don't remain attached if it's not
that's right.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have an attachment to that house. I wanted to create a easier, safer lifestyle for myself in the long run. So again, I moved into a condominium on the ocean, and I moved to North Hutchinson Island. So it was right on the ocean. And then we had Hurricane Francis and Jeannie that showed up.
which was just when my brand new furniture
Oh
was
no.
arriving. And I lived on the 12th floor. And then we had power. We had no power for 2 weeks, and I had to walk up 12 flights of stairs. I thought, I'm going to have to change this option very quickly.
Oh wow.
But again, the condo was destroyed. Water. We had to evacuate the island, and we were off the island for a week. In the meantime, the roof chasers blew off the building, and the water came down the walls. So again, by that time, the association didn't know who was responsible for repairing the walls, so it took them 3 months. By that time, the mold was thick inside the wall. I could not go in my condo. It took me 10 months to get back in there. So I decided when I went back there, what modifications would I have to make in order to remain here safely in the future? One of the things was, we put plasterboard on our thing, and the plasterboard is what got attacked.
So you actually stayed in the apartment that was wrecked during the hurricane? No, you moved. So there's things you can't plan for, and hurricanes or tornadoes or floods or one of them.
Yes.
But what about the things you can plan for?
Well, what I was able to do was when I came back, I was able to remodify my home. For example, I researched, well, if mold gets on my walls, how can I prevent that from attacking me and things? So I researched that limestone is what Michelangelo used to paint the Sistine Chapel, and limestone comes from the depth of the river, and when applied to the wall, it's a substrate that is antimicrobial and antibacterial. And the thing is that you can color it. So again, I went to school. I learned how to do Italian plastering. I plastered my walls in my house. I decorated them. And now I knew that if another hurricane come, my walls would be protected. In the meantime, and then I looked at other ways. So then I decided in the long run, I had to move in the future because I live in Florida and we are hurricane season to a lower level so that if we did have another crisis like that, I can easily be able to navigate. So 10 years later, I moved down to Fort Lauderdale, back to Fort Lauderdale, and I moved into a condo on the intercoastal instead of on the ocean, knowing that I wouldn't have to evacuate. So this is the planning strategy. Where am I going to be 10 years from now? What was my lifestyle going to look like? I want to be able to safely navigate, be 1 mile within my church, 1 mile within my bank, 1 mile with the grocery store. So I moved a half a mile on the intercoastal into a condo, and now I live on the 5th floor. Well, the 5th floor I use for exercise every single day.
You're a marathon runner, right? You got to warm up for those marathons.
That's right. I train for marathons. I run to my church every morning and run back. So that's 3 miles. And my grocery store, my bank, my doctors, get my nails. So I planned so that I would be within my community should I not be able to drive in the future.
Okay, so you looked for, first of all, you look to the community around you to see if you could maneuver safely within the community.
That's right. And what services does the community provide? Mm-hmm. So the community has a senior center. It has a transporter that comes and picks you up and takes you. So you're looking for A, where's my community? B, how am I going to navigate within my community? And what services does my community offer to me?
Wonderful.
So they have a community center. My church is right there. So again, I can interact with my friends in my church. So I'm looking for socialization. I can walk to the beach. It's only 1 mile to the beach. I can go to the theater, which is within reasonable way of getting take. So that's my long-term strategy. And so now I'm in that position where I have a choice. I can still drive a car, but when I can't drive a car, I know what my options are, and I already have integrated and know my community. I know the people at the bank. I know the people in the grocery store. I know the people at the doctor's office. I know how to socialize.
Wonderful.
So that's really that's the goal of planning and always ask yourself where you're going to be. Where you're going to be 5 years from now, where you're going to be 10 years. I'm 74 years old.
So now I'm like, okay, I better be making my exit strategy pretty soon. What do I want to be doing if I do that? So I want to be in a place where I still can socialize and I can still feel valued, meaning I can contribute.
Right.
So I can belong to the church club. I can belong to the community socialization place where I can go there. So I want those connections, and those connections help me and I'm single. So I have been single for too many years, but I live by myself, which is also a very, very important
consideration. Now, in order to, so you look at the community now. Do the place that you bought, or most people who are aging in place, moving into accommodations that accommodate them as they age, or do they have to modify? And if they have to modify, where do you start?
Okay, so when I moved into my building 15 years ago, it was originally a timeshare was originally timeshare.
That's
so
interesting.
Now it's a 5-story building. The people that were living there were probably more than 50% were over the age of 65, and at that time I was only in my 50s. But now the community has basically changed. We have, a community center. We have a swimming pool. We have activities. So I moved there with the intention, I'm going to make this my forever home. Now, what issues do I have within that? Again, I had to look at the interior of the space, and then how do I modify, and what do I want to manage? I live by myself. Do I need a four-bedroom room house? No, I need a kitchen. I need a bedroom. I need an office. I want to overlook the ocean for aesthetics, and I want socialization. So I moved there because there's people around me, and that I really got to see emphasized during COVID. So during COVID was a critical place where we were all isolated, right? But at least I had community, meaning I could see the neighbors and my building.
But if somebody is living in the home that they've lived in for a long time, what are the top 5 interior design considerations that you have to make in order to navigate that home so that you're successfully living there as you age?
Well, I looked. So I have a kitchen. I looked, the kitchen. So the important thing is accessibility, that you have to get through the door. So we need to make sure that our minimum exterior door is at least 34 inches. So this gets us in, and the travel path. So what I looked at in the environment in the home was, how do I navigate around that home? Should I be disabled in the future? Could a wheelchair go down the hallway? Can a wheelchair go through the door? Can I get into the bathroom to be able to take care of my personal hygiene? So I have a step-free. I have a shower in the bathroom that I step into. I have a door that I can get through. I have an open space plan. So that means that I can navigate, and I use my furniture as my travel path.
So you had to invest. If somebody has to make modifications like that to their home, like widening doors and widening hallways, and what other making a bathroom accessible to a wheelchair, does that cost that costs some money to do?
Well, listen. If I lived in my condo and I had money, so I did have money from the sale of my condo. So I reinvest that money in order to make modifications. So again, it cost me, I redid my kitchen because, again, it was not very accessible. So I redesigned the kitchen so that it would be functional and safe. The most 2 important places, the kitchen and the bathroom. So those are the 2 places that we need for activities daily. We have to feed ourselves, and we have to take care of our personal hygiene. The rest of the space is for, sleeping or resting. But those are the 2 important
in your experience, on average, when somebody is staying in a house that they've lived in for 10, 20, 30 years, so they should go to the kitchen and the bathroom first? And what is your experience with how to budget that?
You mean how to budget the renovations for the kitchen or the bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had the sale from my house, so I prioritized what I needed to have done. So the bathroom was already, because it was a condo that I purchased and someone already did renovation. So I already had a I already had a shower. Now, in some condominium depends on the jurisdiction where you live. Where we live, code requires that you have to have a 4-inch threshold, because it's a condominium and they don't want water coming from one level to another. So they mandate that you have to have a threshold in there. But I still can get into the shower. So even if I was in a wheelchair and I had to get in, I still would be able to, step over a small threshold if I needed to get in
into
there.
a bathroom. So most of the homes that are renovated in order to accommodate an aging adult have level thresholds.
Yes. In a home, you have a different code requirement. So are you staying in a home or are you staying in a condominium? Now, newer condominiums, brand new condominium, have prepared for that step-free threshold. It's the older buildings that have those requirements, because they can't do modification to some of them right now. But newer buildings, if you go into a newer high rise, they're building new homes. They are building them with step-free thresholds that you can just automatically get into, and have wheelchair access.
Okay, but presuming the listeners to this show are staying in the house that they've lived in for decades, what are the top areas that they need to pay attention to? You said the bathroom, the kitchen. What else needs to be addressed?
Well, I would say the most important is the kitchen, that you're safe. Lighting, the cheapest way, the most important thing for safety and security is lighting. Simple changing a light bulb, you can change someone's life. In addition to that, lights, again, I had an employee and he had macular degeneration. So we get eye diseases and we are limited on our sight. Lighting is the first thing that improves safety. So just by changing a light bulb, you might be able to stay in your environment. But again, look at the environment and see where the light is coming into the home. You need wayfinding. So this means something that helps our eyes to have a focus. So strip lighting. So you remember when strip lighting came out? So by just taking it and putting it along your baseboard and plugging it in,
good idea.
You create wayfinding. Or I took it and I put it in my molding. So I lowered the molding on the ceiling, and then I put my wayfinding in there. So this is my nightlight. I never have to turn the lights out at nighttime because it's on a dimmer, so I can lower it. But it lights up the whole room and it creates a travel path for me, so I can see.
Now, Wanda, before we wrap this up, because we do have to go, our 20 minutes flies by really fast. How does somebody get in touch with a contractor who will help them make the adjustments to their kitchen or bathroom or lighting so that they can foresee living there for a long, long time?
National Association of Home Builders, NAHB.org. You go to their website and you search for Certified Aging in Place Specialists. They have a directory and you can look by your jurisdiction. They have it by state and cities, and you look for a person that's CAP certified. That means they're trained in looking at what modifications your home needs. And it would be, again, a remodeler is the person that's going to come in and remodel your home.
So the idea here is to think ahead, be proactive, and know that your main areas are going to be your kitchen, your bathroom, and your lighting. Well, you've given us a lot to think about today. And should we stay in place, or has it come to the time to pack up and go? If you want to find out more about that, you can visit Wanda at www.goldenageliving.com. And if you want to find a remodeler, like Wanda said, you can go visit the National Association of Home Builders website at www.nah or you can give them a call at 800-368-5242 to find out a contractor in your area. So I think you said a lot of things to think about today, and I want to thank you for coming, Wanda.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have time for today. So let's wrap things up with a request that you go to our website, www.decluttering55plus.com, and click on the Let's Connect button. Share your thoughts, insights, and tell us the lessons you've learned. If you're facing challenges or celebrating triumphs on your decluttering journey, we want to hear from you. Connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Let us know you're part of our community by rating and reviewing us from wherever you're listening from today. And don't forget, invite your friends and family, young and old, to tune in too. Let's include them in the conversation. The more, the merrier. Thanks for being with us today. And until next time, this is Decluttering 55 Plus with Michelle Bassoff, wishing you a clutter-free day.